Welcome, Final Fantasy Randomizer fans, to Race 3 for Group B of the Duckling Derby Gaia Mountain Underpass GP. My name is Thavian Hawk. With me in the booth today is Saracen with our restreamer Lord Fizzlebeef and our tracker duo of Hate the 13th and Classic Gamer. Saracen, what are we looking with these parties and blursings?
We got some. You know what? I'm going to say these parties are not terribly unexpected. So this week we have 3 bonus, 1 malice. Our fighters have +5 luck, +40 hit points, +20 vitality, but can only use thief swords. Rough. Our thieves plus legendary sword, +20 MDef, equip shields, but late lockpicking, putting it at level 28. The black belt, not seen here, has some resistances, some MDef, and minus 10% hit, which kind of a big deal. Red mages, +2 level 1 MP, plus lock 2, +20% hit, -1 hit percent per level. Not a big deal. We aren't seeing a single red mage here. White mage, plus exit, +10 vitality, improved Thor hammer, and -10 agility. That's a surprisingly good white mage. And our black mages have +25 agility, plus 800 gold to start, plus temper, and -1 MDef per level. I'm not surprised by anybody but Kumo here.
I have to agree, even with that Thief Sword Malice, the level of buffs on that fighter makes it just the solid tanky boy. And if you do find a good Thief equipable sword, like a Dragon Sword or a Coral Sword, or of course the Masa, which is incentivized, that would negate that Thief issue.
Yeah, and I think another big thing to keep in mind here is this week's flag set has scaled up boss stats, and so that extra vitality and HP on the fighter is a huge deal.
Anyone who didn't watch the race Friday, as one who experienced it, please do, and you'll know exactly what these races are in for. Obviously, you'll want to watch this race first, then go back and watch the one on Friday. Either way, it is a dangerous set of fiends these racers will be facing.
So just to briefly talk about the flags here, we have a shard hunt. We have 28 shards required to open up the black orb. We have clamped bosses at 100 to 180%, which is... it's not high, but it's high enough. We have B-side spike tiles. The Masa is guaranteed to be in the Masa chest, in addition to wherever else it rolls. And, oh, by the way, the fiends, like Fiend 1s, they're shuffled in dungeons. So you could have a bad time going through Volcano.
Oh, early Volcano? Sure, no, that's Kraken.
Alright, we're off.
Let's go look at our white magic first here. Exit, that is a pretty potent thing to find. That free warp plus exit makes early dungeon dives a very much doable thing. And there is warp as well as 2 sweepers with Fire 2 and Ice 2. Not the most powerful magic, but they are immediately valid sweepers to use.
Now, one downside here with the white mage is we have knowledge that the exit is available to whoever wants it, right? So the plus exit bonus suddenly doesn't really do much for us.
Yeah, and noting that the key is in ordeals, so that level 28 thief requirement for lockpicking can be basically negated by just hitting up ordeals. And we're getting our first look at the encounter table.
That's a pretty quick fight.
Yeah,
because of the number of free tiles on the way to Topher.
That could make an overworld grind much more doable. With those B-side tiles, there are some good tiles you can find, there are some bad tiles you can find. That was a gold +1 coming out of the top chest in Toph. That is excellent armor, especially, and then 20,000+ gold out of that bottom chest. These are racers that are set up for equipment and spells.
One thing I'm gonna just point out with Maple, using warp to get out instead of exit meant that now that black mage is out of spell charges and has to use temper on the weaponless fighter to try to finish this off.
True, it can be extremely valuable having the using the exit charges that came free with that white mage. It would do the exact same thing in this case, but they'd be not affecting the offensive ability of the Black Mage. We got the crown and the bottle out of the king and the princess. So that is a turn in for Northwest Castle, and the bottle for late game when we get that floater. Hopefully it's not late game, but it could be.
Yeah, it's going to have some impacts, we shall say, on what we get out of Bicky. That means that we're going to get a ship, canoe, or maybe the crystal to one of those two. We don't really have a lot of options other than that at this point.
Herbie B stopped into the clinic, bringing up his white mage before checking the store. We did not get an early store item. We did get some affordable heal pots and reasonably good pures as well. Softs, not too overpriced, but obviously there's no save items there in Canaria. So you got the 10 tents you start with if you want to try and overworld manipulate until you get to Provoca. We did get the +1 silver bracelets and +3 silver armor though in Carnaria's armory, which is excellent gear for that fighter and the rest of the party in general.
What's up with these nunchucks, by the way? Did you see that? +4 iron nunchucks, +5 wooden nunchucks? I hope that's not where all the blursas went.
I mean, if this is a Bruce Lee seed...
I was saying before we got into broadcast that I would have potentially leaned into the black belt with this flag set. We are getting the crystal out of Bicky. Maple, our first runner on stream to see that.
And Heavy Metal Mage didn't kill Garland, either wiped or actually left and came back to fight Garland.
I think it was left and came back.
Yeah, given his strengths and levels, he probably had the money and got the gear. And as you suspected, that is the crystal coming out of Bicky.
Ribbon and Marsh.
Good value early, and we're going to be going that way with the crown turn in to get to Elfland. So that'll be extremely nice to see early. Obviously, we might have a very dangerous marsh they have to dive to get to it, but with exit and warp this early, that makes the find it and go. Because these are not loose items, these are all incentive items that they're finding. I believe Ordeals is randomized, but most of the locations are vanilla.
Ordeals and Marsh are both random.
Oh, yes, I forgot I found items so fast in Marsh the other few times. Oh well.
Well, and having the hint giver tell us about Marsh is helpful because it identifies the floor.
Yeah, we get Saber and Fire 3 at level 2 black, and it was Harm 3 and Cure 2 at level 2 white. So that's a good sweeper for Light Mage and a solid sweeper for the black. And then the crystal turned into our ship, so that's faster access to Elfland, and from there, most likely to the castle turn in and search for that ribbon and marsh.
I wouldn't be terribly surprised if some of our runners decide to wait on Marsh until after they have the airship. Getting a ribbon early is nice, but Marsh is kind of just a bad place to be. And if you know you're not getting progression out of it, I don't want to be there.
Fading Marsh when you know you don't need to go there is reasonable, especially once you have those higher levels. It makes Marsh just an encounter fee, or a bunch of encounters that are less likely to end you.
Lit 3 and Brack, notable in Black Magic 3.
And Life was in White 3 as well, along with Invis and Fade, or Holy in the case of Maple.
Life, Fade, and Heal 2 are all very strong spells coming out of White 3.
Maple exiting the city and coming back to get back to the armory faster and check the item shop. Not going to level 4, it looks like, or at least not yet. Finding houses for 7,500 or 75 or 7,000 or 750. It's a Womp of Hint Giver. Now going to level 4 magic, just routing, finding Nuke at level 4 black, which is it's far to get to, but it's not as bad as page 2.
Yeah, level 4 and level 5 are my least favorite spell levels to interact with. Level 6 is a close... Well, level 6 is worse than level 4. Because it's the same number of inputs. It's just... Yeah. It's terrible.
Well, at least at level 4 you'll have more charges faster.
Yeah, and you'll remember that it exists. Second page magic? That doesn't exist.
Yeah, those early level 5 magics that are just one button up to get to can be, or level 8 magic I should say. It looks like Maple is choosing to go Marsh side rather than get that crown turn in. Understandable, you've got a lot of powerful magic, you could take on Astos at this point, but if you think you need the supplies and you really want that ribbon for safety, it's not a horrible idea. You are right though, fading Marsh is a reasonable choice.
So I think Maple's decision here is indicative of not having the spell charges for Fade yet. And while there is powerful magic, generally, level 3 and level 4 are where you want to have those spell charges, and you're not going to have those until like level 7 or 8. So, you know, at least there's a little bit coming out there. We did see a shard just come out. They are called Bigs this seed, as opposed to Wedge.
Interesting chunks of a cat that everyone despises from the Sonic franchise. Either way, that was the link chest up to the top floor of Marsh, so that one was not the incentive item. Couple opal pieces, bonk -2, and the helm +2. Pretty solid for promo on that tank of a knight. And an incentive gets the canal, so that's access to the outer sea.
So our incentive here was not the ribbon, that was just a bonus ribbon, which is actually very important to note. That was an opal -3 bracelet, which it's not great, but it's free.
And we got a first look at Astos from Herbie B, finding the rods behind the Evil Elf King.
So that hint in Provoca actually could be a potential downside for our runners here. Oh, that ribbon's unlocked. Oh, that's sad.
Well, at least they would know where one is when they get to level 28 or actually finish ordeals. Obviously, until they have the floater, which would require having the canoe anyways, they can't get to ordeals.
Yeah.
Herbie B is out of the fight with Astos and choosing to go down to Marsh. Obviously, without anything else to turn in, it is really the only play he has.
And worth noting is we don't have any of our extra docks on. So when we're looking at available locations and what they could have, Crescent Lake is where you have to go. That's our next stop. And so that's going to be likely the canoe, which is this even randomized? But that is also very telling about what our progression order is going to look like.
Very true. I mean, it's the canoe or a quest chain that leads to the canoe, because that is the only, as you say, the only way to access the rest of the map at this point. Personally, I prefer the quest chain. It makes for a lot of running around without the floater, but it does mean a more experience gain when you do grind later on, or if you just do the walking grind.
I think, you know, if you're looking for worst case scenario for our runners, it's probably like Crescent Lake turns into Adamant, turns into Herb, turns into TNT, turns into Ruby, something like that. Like, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and as far as dungeons, the only incentivized dungeons are the dragon tile or dragon chest at the bottom of Volcano and the incentive in Sky. So Earth with that rod doesn't get us anything than access to chests and a fiend. And if we get into the sea, that's again just chests and a fiend. A lot of chests, which can make a huge effect on the number of shards they can get. As Maple is our first runner out of the Inner Sea on their way to Crescent. And finding some EXP, it's definitely good value as long as you got the charges to deal with it. It looks like having a charge of nuke, that should do it.
And some fades, which it's going to require the fade as well because, you know, we can't have nice things.
I do remember this time last week, our entire the entire Group B team rolled an average of 145 with their nukes. It was a very low roll seed for nukes. A couple of racers actually checking out the top of Marsh, getting those extra chests up there, as Kumo is on their way back to get in the ship and get over to Crescent, and Maple is checking our level 6 magic. That's Life 2 and Cure 2, or Cure 4, I should say, at level 6 white and level 6 black. We have nothing. The Black Mage brought extra gold, and it's not going to the Black Mage in this case.
So thinking about what's left out in terms of our material here from spells, we're still missing our Temper and our Heal 3 as like notable spells. Invis 2 would be nice, but I mean, once you're looking at it being level 7 or 8, that's basically just unobtainable.
Whether or not you're going to get the levels to make it work, plus the time it takes to get those levels and the menuing annoyance. But Maple getting out of Crescent, getting that ruby, so that's straight back to the the Melman continent. Has the gear to do a full sweep of Melman if nothing spectacular comes out of the incentivized Titan's Tunnel or out of Sarda. May just use the chance to clear all of Earth Cave while they're there.
Worth noting, this ruby opens up 2 checks, which means that this could theoretically be both the canoe and the floater.
It would be kind of hilarious. Herbie B getting some EXPs as well as Kumo makes it into into Crescent. No store item there. I didn't check that with Maple before, so we're still looking for the store item. And our first look into Titans for Maple.
Maple just blazing through this seed.
Did see Pro Rings +2 in Crescent Armory. Maple also using the chance to pop out that left side. It looks like going to take the chance to check out Titans on their way back from Sarda. As Heavy Metal Mage down the bottom right here, getting that canal out of Marsh, and the Adamant. That is another turn-in check for Sarda.
At least it's relatively easy to route. Like, you're right here. True. And if the canoe comes out of Titans, then you have an easy dock on the way there.
Of course, we could also get the TNT and just make the dive into Dwarves full completion minus the lack of a key. And that is an Excal +2. That is the sad womp. Actually, that is not a sad womp.
Not.
The Thief is an amazing wielder. So it looks like the Thief gets all the best swords, as the Knight just has to sit there going, but that's mine. Why is he wielding it?
Yeah, and with the Masa not being part of the incentive pool and it being it's randomly available, but also the guaranteed Masa chest is, it's one of those opportunities. Are you going to take the dangerous walk on the sky floor of Topher to get a sword for your knight? That's a hard sell. Like, maybe I just pump tempers in until the cows come home and we just call it a day.
Indeedly do. And Maple not bothering to check Earth, gonna continue on with the turn-ins, it looks like. Or saving in Melman beforehand to get some magic charges.
I am 100% on board with that. Earth doesn't have anything for me right now, except a few encounter tiles on the way there, basically. I don't want to do Earth if I'm not getting any progression out of it. I would rather save Earth for last.
Definitely, because as ever, just like with Marsh late, and that is a ribbon +2 in the free chest and dwarves. That is huge to see. You don't have to get that key, and that is the canoe from the Adamant turn-in. But that is a ribbon without going back to Marsh. Now from here for Maple, do you think go straight to Ordeals? You know where the key is, and you've got the canoe.
100%. We have the spells to do it, both in terms of the telemagic and the damage. We can get the levels out of there. The key is just a valuable thing to have. I like it. Like it's just a good play generally. But Maple maybe go into ice.
Well,
Also a reasonable play.
You've got the warp charges. Yep, go into that northern dock, so that would be ice. You've got the warp and exit, so you can get the fast in and out. And we have both the canal and the boat, so this isn't necessarily going to be a womp item.
It could be the defense sword or the katana, which would be kind of a womp. So here's my thought process and why I think Maple is making this decision. So if you go to ordeals, you are committing to just getting the key and hoping that the key turns into something. You can theoretically solve that problem with levels. If you go to ice, there are 5 spike tiles in your B-sides, and you could theoretically get levels here.
Plus, there are 15 chests, not including the incentive chest on the dive for a relatively small dungeon.
Right. So, you can make it one swoop through. I didn't notice before, but Heavy Metal Mage showing us the hint at Crescent Lake that the Elf Prince has the loot. So we are on the hunt for the herb at some point.
I guess the princess lent the loot to the Elf Prince before he got put to sleep.
In exchange for a fairy 2,000 years ago.
Maple not checking that right side spike tile, but finding 3 red Ds on the drop down tile. That could be extremely good experience if those weren't incredibly evasive by design. And then 3 zombie Ds. What is this? Are we going to find some frosties down here too?
Maybe, but you know what I have to say here is I appreciate this routing choice. We get the cube out of ice, which I'm going to say, relatively speaking, that's a womp, because that tells you that Ordeals was the play. Or its Volcano is the play, which is scary. So Volcano is a dungeon in this flag set that I would actually put off as long as possible, because I don't want to have to go through the whole thing, loot it out, and then leave. Because ultimately, you're going to probably want the shards from the orb, but you put yourself in the position of needing to deal with whatever fiend landed there on the shuffle.
Well, as someone who personally did the exact same thing you said to not, or you would be wanting not to do, you can make up those shards. That is the thing about a shard hunt, especially with a shard hunt as we're running here that doesn't require every single shard or the vast majority of them. There is a chance to make up for a lack of a fiend fight. Then that is a flame +3, a pretty solid sword. Unfortunately, with the Excal already in hands of the now dead thief, it's kind of useless.
Yeah, Hydra's not friendly.
Now here's a question for you. If you wanted to grind a tile down here, would you prefer going to those zombie Ds early or stick with the red Ds that Maple took out?
It's a hard choice, right? Like, I think effectively they're comparable. The zombie Ds are going to be easier to hit, if I recall correctly. They're just lower evasion. And so that can play into the decision. But if the zombie Ds are super thick and the red Ds are not, we can just lean into spell charges and it's fine.
Very true. And, well, Maple's been clearing out ice, getting those chests. Kumo is in ordeals all the way past the maze. Making quick course of it, gonna check the get the key and whatever else is in these chests up top. And down to 2 parties, having lost the black members having lost the black mage, it looks like. Ooh, Corn +2. That is a solid weapon if Kumo had a fighter.
Is Herbie B in Earth right now?
Yes, Herbie B is, as well as Heavy Metal Mage. Herbie B, I believe, checking the grind tiles and evidently taking some Gurmedusas as Maple finally gets out of ice and is on their way elsewhere.
Kubo finding Sandwich tile and in place of the Zombie D tile. That's actually a really great find.
They tend to be relatively easy to hit and relatively juicy for experience to the damage that they take.
Yeah, that whole vanilla having first turn crack thing, that makes them much higher experience targets than they otherwise might be. All right, Maple making their way over to Volcano. That makes sense to me.
It's a
These
proximity play, and you don't need the key to get anything out of it.
these Gurmaduces are poison touch by the looks of it, and that's kind of frustrating, but level 16 across the board for Herbie B could actually be a really big deal.
It's a lot of magic casts early, plus the overall gain in health, especially on that fighter with the vitality buff. It's already over 500 hit points.
That feels super good. Now, the downside of the Gurmaducer grind is you need spell charges to do it. You can't just rely on melee swings, whereas Kumo could theoretically put the White Mage in first slot, let the sandwiches take the White Mage out, and then just solo grind on the Thief for a while, get up to lockpicking. But the lockpicking doesn't matter.
Because they're literally in the place where the key came out of.
Next to it, because it was the vanilla chest. Or no, it was a random chest, but who cares? They're all on the same floor.
And coming up, Maple in Armory, finding a Dragon +4. The weapons for the Thief that are now on that knight or fighter are actually pretty dang viable, all things considered. Currently on some pretty low hit points, choosing to loot and probably back out and then save. Not sure at this point, without the necessary gear. Invis 2 staff and Ice +2 armor. This armory is pretty stacked, especially for the fighter early.
Yeah, this is looking good for that fighter's gear situation. Invis 2 axe is super handy. All right,
Herbie B getting the ribbon as Maple exits out and dives right back in.
So notable thing here from the pro thief camp is Saber is thief learnable, and that can be a significant benefit as you're going through Topher. Now, the downside is when we see that Invis 2x, that indeed means that our spellcasting items are randomized in the curated pool. So we don't necessarily know what we're getting out of them, and that actually can be really, really handy because that Invis 2x is a light axe, and we know that there are lots of those in the flags.
Kumo, with that key coming out of Ordeals, is in Carnaria, checking our locks.
Harm 3 hat, very big for the White Mage.
Damage alt incentive or flag being set makes it very excellent, and that is the floater. Ordeals to lock to flying is a good thing for Kumo.
Maple,
that
meanwhile,
means not dealing with the river system.
Maple is clearing out this volcano. Heavy Metal Mage finding the Whizvamp Vamp tile, which is frightening, but also very good.
And getting shards out of that one. And a wyvern, not really, or worm, not really something you want to deal with. And a stomp bonk, not exactly the bonk you want.
Yeah, that's a little concerning. Now, there is a guaranteed ruse item, which is the power staff. Otherwise, that really was just a poorly named item in vanilla. But we don't necessarily have guaranteed saber access in our item magic pool. That's part of the downside of the Invis 2 axes.
And that is the slab for sale in Gaia. As Kumo checks it, picks that up, and is going to pop the bottle and see what the fairy has to offer. Specifically, the fairy of the lake that was in the bottle, not the fairy that is a member of their party, given that Kumo is running these Zelda sprites. That is the tail. Not only is that promotion to get access to more gear, that is a reason to go to Cardia and get the horde of equipment that is behind Bahamut. Because Herbie B is now grinding the sandworms and ordeals.
Gershark Big Eye on the Agama tile. Oh, baby.
That is experience Pinata and Bitey Fish. Usually something you take, especially if you have things like Lightning 3 or Thunder 3 to use. Although Heal 3 is just kind of trolly.
Yeah.
Negates damage and takes time, but it's still a pretty thick or juicy experience pack.
And that's exactly it, right? Like, you're going in knowing that there's an issue on that front. That was an Aegis Shield +2 in Bahamut's Horde.
Which, with the Thief having that shields blursing, actually means they can equip shields that aren't normally equipable, and a Katana +4. Oh my word, what is this? You got the crit stick for fighting Chaos, and you got the Excalibur Plus to fight everything else.
I question the choice to take the Excal off. The Excal is just going to be so good with the lower number of hits, because that's really the key thing with crits, is you want more hits so you have more chances to crit.
Yeah, until you get to Chaos, who has no vulnerabilities to elemental damage, that Excal Plus is most likely going to be your best damage equipment. And Maple finally making it all the way down to Volcano, getting the chime out of there, and then exiting out, doing exactly what I did on Friday. I appreciate it, but as you said, not getting those shards means that Maple will have to find them elsewhere.
The other thing of note here is Maple has access to all of Sky, except for that part where you need the pesky floater. Now, the path is clear, right? There's nowhere else for Maple to go to get an incentive item.
Ordeals to the key, and then the key takes you to Crescent, or to Canaria Castle.
So the other notable tile, and it was, if you looked at the red D tile as Maple got that was the Nacho tile. Also a good tile. I don't know if you've ever seen the Spell Zap special in any races, but Spell Zap has been known to overworld grind in the northern rivers occasionally, because nachos are a surprisingly good grind.
True. They're also one of the things you can grind in the top of Sky at the Bridge of Destiny, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Along with the Metal Slimes and our Lord and Savior Robot Chicken.
And the Fire Hydrants.
Maple in Ordeals, going through the maze, as Kumo is now heading up Volcano. Herbie B is about to get that floater, and some vampires are dying in Earth for Heavy Metal Mage, about to go down to the armory floor after popping the crowbar patch.
Yeah, so that was an unfortunate wipe out of Earth for Heavy Metal Mage. Yet again, solidifying my claim that Earth is just something you hold off on.
That is a ruse stick coming out of the top hairpin above the armory in Volcano. That is huge find for Kumo.
Yeah, especially running the 3-man, having access to that is really big.
Yeah, especially if you get that Invis Axe on one guy, and you get... Actually, it looks like Kumo is currently running a 2-man party, having that Black Mage down, going Thief White Mage.
That's, honestly, I'm a big fan. Now,
stack your experience fast onto a guy who can do a lot of crit stick hitting.
But also, you've got your +10 Vitality White Mage getting levels, right? So, worst case scenario in Topher is you don't have the ability to cast Life at the end of the game. This White Mage is going to have the hit points to survive most things by the time that Kumo gets there, just because of holding off on the rezzing of the Black Mage. And that means you're going to have more spell charges for Life in Life 2, you're going to have your Cure 4s. You can theoretically toss the Masa onto the White Mage for Chaos, and handle it White Samurai. So,
or the Thor Hammer.
Or the Thor Hammer. The Thor Hammer with improved Thor is also a big deal. We still need to find that, though.
Yep, gold Herbie B now in the air, checking out Gaia, finds gold bracelets +1 in the Gaia armor shop. I do remember seeing we already found the pro rings rolled plus, but I can't remember exactly where that was. I'd have to check our trackers to see if we had that. But those are the key items in the armory shop to pick up as Ruby is about to check. Looks like a harm shirt or something was the hit giver there. Finding the slab. Unfortunately, not enough gold to buy it. As Mabel picks up the floater, and a Kraken is in the place of the normal speed bump. This is incredibly dangerous.
Sure is. And down
Especially
goes
when
White
Kraken,
Mage.
yeah, Kraken pulling Kraken things. Brack coming out, trying to get that cast kill on it. Swing, Brack again. That tiny little stick that fighter is using, not so effective. Brack, though, pulling it off on the second charge. That is a set of shards and some experience for heavy metal as their first orb gets lit. Kumo currently fighting those Gershark and I-Tile, getting 22 levels now on the party on that Agma tile and continuing to grind. Herbie B, meanwhile, has the tail, has the floater, is in Cardia, gonna promote and get the gear out of there.
Now, what I will say about this Gershark Big Eye tile is they're adequately resisting the fades, which is a problem, and then the Big Eyes are what have the heal 3s. So those heal 3s have completely negated both of those fade casts.
It definitely slows down the grind and eats up all the charges that you could otherwise have. That could be part of what played into Maple choosing to warp or exit out rather than take down the Fiend that might be there, because just lack of supplies after taking any sort of grind. Herbie B, meanwhile, picking up that katana, probably going to look at shifting some gear around, finding the Aegis shield as well. And Maple up in the air.
So if you're in the position that our runners are in, you know that Sky is gated behind the ice and fire combo. You have Slab available to you. Where are you headed?
Looking at Maple, who already has access to Sky with that chime and that cube being in Gaia, it's probably Melman to translate, to run down to Lefane, check out the superstore and get the item there, and then go to Sky. I would probably avoid on-rack altogether until access to the Oxyale is available, just to avoid double dipping to go to the waterfall and then on-rack to go to sea.
The Black Mage is alive on Kumo's side. We have decided that the levels are adequate. I am honestly okay with that.
I would not complain, especially if the Black Mage still had charges of what magic it had available before it went down. Bringing it up now so you have the charges to use against a Fiend, such that you see it has at least one charge of nuke to use, that could be extremely valuable.
I do appreciate the rub shirt because I have nothing else to do with this White Mage.
Herbie B, meanwhile, actually checking those different grind tiles, using the airship to land outside of the desert, finding a tile with the Stake and Wings party. Gonna go ahead and do that off the first encounter repeatedly, get some experience that way.
I don't know how I feel about that. Like, just because the B-sides are available, you're planning on doing a party grind kind of thing. Like, I like the desert grind for some things, but Steak and Wings is like... That's like the lowest tier of viability in my mind. Like, I would much prefer literally any other of the choice encounters.
Kumo, meanwhile, taking on the Fiend and Volcano. Hey, it's actually Carrie. For whatever reason, she didn't want to leave. As Maple choosing to put the katana on that ninja. Tempers and Viz stacks going out, trying to keep that thief alive. Cure 4 to bring it back up to full health, missing that hit from Carrie. The Black Mage just swinging for no good reason. 709 damage. This is a fairly thick carry.
100 to 180. Like
Kumo
that's
choosing to use the nuke, 157. Another Cure 4 to come out to bring up the White Mage to full health. Another swing from the Thief, 377. Finally, that is a dead carry for Kumo.
yeah. When I said 100 to 180, like that means that carry can roll up to 1,080 hit points. So that's a big deal.
That vindicates Maple's choice to exit out, in my opinion, just for the ability to take on that fiend at the levels that Kumo or that Maple was at the time. But
Yep.
Maple has made it down to Melman, has translated the slab, as we have an ice dive from Herbie B. In fact, all three other races are in ice now.
I can't say I'm surprised.
I'm a little surprised Maple's trying to go to the desert and head into Mirage before going to Lefane. Already promoted, unless there's like a lack of gold to take advantage of those levels, or just choosing to check grinds. Or, nope, just burning off an encounter before heading in.
So I think this is a case of I want the levels before I get the spells sort of situation. Like getting the spells in Lefane doesn't really matter all that much if you don't have the charges to use them in the first place.
Very true. And of course, as you mentioned before, having that saber learnable for that ninja is very valuable, because at this point the ninja is most definitely your primary weapon swinging body.
Procate +4 is worth grabbing.
An interesting case where a thief fighter party is using both the Opal Shield and the Aegis Shield, with the Aegis Shield currently on the ninja.
Shield Blur's very good. Yeah, I
Herbie
hate
B
definitely
and
thinking about what I'm thinking is the walk to Lefane sucks.
fair enough. And at this point, we know the loot is behind the herb for any of our racers that check that blursing. So if the herb is in the Fane, that's actually go mode.
Well, go get some bigs mode. We got plenty of bigs to collect for all 4 of our runners here, plus the 3 that are not on stream.
Very true. There's more than just the 4 runners in this group. For all we know, we could have runners on racing that are actually running a black belt party. Herbie B getting that cube using the warp trip, then exiting out, not doing a full clear of it, missing a few items, but nothing too big to note.
Some +4 coming out of greater than less than, which is a very nice sword, but it's just kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of really good equipment that even the Thief could run otherwise, but the Thief has access to an X-Cal and a Katana Roll Plus, and the Dragon +4 is probably the best that I assume they're going to find for that fighter for Knight, unless they find a Masa and it rolls reasonable. I mean, even Masa rolled down one's probably better, but...
Yeah, Masa is so strong. The crit on the dragon is going to be decent, but the Masa is just a great sword.
Who knows, we might see a very crit-happy, rolled-up Vorpal, but yeah. Unfortunately, that's not Thief-wieldable. Random eye tile with Quad X taking down the Black Mage for Maple.
That's a good case for not wanting to see the 3-eye grind.
Using life instead of life 2, having that one charge when you keep that for emergency. We do have life in battle enabled, so could see that charge get used for very good effect.
Almost lost the dive to the exit boss there. I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah, making sure you know charge or your location of your spells. Fast menuing can be a trap.
Yeah, and it's one of those cases for always making sure you have something in front of your exit and warp.
Speaking of warp, Maple utilizing it to back out and basically clear half that run to not have to run all the way back across that floor.
Yep, warp is very strong in Sky 1.
As Herbie B down into the Agma floor, Kumo is getting the incentive cube, and Heavy Mo Mage about to dive Volcano. Maple, meanwhile, on the spider floor, going to check some some treasure chests and pick up the incentive item here. Now, I said go mode before, but not having that access to C. Oh, Rune Sword +2. Pretty nice to see, usable by the fighter.
It's not really better than the dragon, though. Like,
True. Its advantages and its typing don't compensate for the dragon's better overall stats.
that is a fast sword as a defense sword. That's pretty good.
Most definitely, especially since I don't believe we've seen fast as a spell yet.
It was promotion locked in Melmond, I believe.
Ah,
Yep, it was in the vanilla warp slot.
aka no one's gonna care.
I mean, the
Especially if they
promotion
find-
came so easy.
True. Yep. Juicy red red Hydra tile here on the sky treasure floor.
Gotta love those fire hydrants.
Kumo finally following up is our second racer into the tower in the middle of the desert, Mirage Tower, making their way up, checking the greater than less than floor as we get a check here soon from Maple on the 6-pack. Finding many a bigs. And Herbie B finding that juicy pinata party.
Now, one thing that I still want to keep an eye on here on Maple's side is just the lack of levels. You know, Maple is charging through this seed and has been doing really great overall, you know, in terms of menu speed and progression through the seed. But we're still at a dangerous point on levels. And in this scaling, I'm very concerned that there's just going to be hard roadblocks if we don't see some levels come in soon.
Yeah, understandably Maple taking the walking grind here, getting that solo shot on Nacho. Very thick nachos, it seems. But another swing out from that katana seems equipped thief, or ninja, as Maple makes her way to the Bridge of Destiny. Choosing to take another grind here. This is actually a reasonably good experience, not the best experience you can find. Some metal slimes would be better for a pack. But as far as relatively easy to kill, a single nuke getting some reasonable low rolls still gets most of it down.
It's unfortunate to see the rolls on the nuke that low because those sorcerers, I think, were in like the 130 range for HP.
Yeah, and Kumo getting some metal slimes out there, a 5-pack for about 2,300 experience, and a 4-pack here for Maple. These are good with the cast necessarily to kill them. They're not super thick either.
Always have to worry when the enemies pull out the X-Fur, though. Like,
Yeah.
what am I going to see after this?
Do we get a robot chicken? We do not get a robot chicken as Maple blasts right past and finds a lich. That's the sky speed bump, it seems.
Yeah, up to 720 hit points on this lich. We'll see how that turns out.
Fire 2, reasonably ticklish at this point. We get the holy out. We get the nuke. We have the fast stick out with the katana. That's 10 hits for 700 plus damage. That is a dead sky bump.
Mm-hmm.
And 21 across the party. At some point, thief lockpicking might even be enabled.
Yeah, that late lockpicking is so rude. Fun fact, it used to be the Malice was plus 10 lockpick level as the name, and the bonus was minus 10 lockpick level, and people found it confusing, so it got renamed. And I understand that. Like, it's a little bit odd to try to parse that, but Kumo seeing the Quad X eyes, very unfortunate for that Black Mage.
The only member of the party that doesn't have the life to survive it.
Mm-hmm.
Maple out with that orb lit for Sky, lift experience and equipment and shards, going down to Lefane, check what the Lefane-ish have, and with some gold gonna probably pick up the Saber and maybe a few other spells, just in case maybe a backup nuke, who knows.
So that fast sword is kind of reinforcing that idea I had of maybe the White Samurai is the play for Chaos. We get the Oxyale coming out of Lefane.
That's pretty big to see. We still need to get that herb to get the loot, but that's access to Mermaid Side and Sea, and incentive go down Waterfall, which gives you 2 incentive item there. Lots of shards available, and an incentivize item that you can just one-shot the entire drop in the continent.
So the important thing to note here, though, is that the progression now is the Waterfall is TNT, which turns into the herb, which turns into the loot. And so when we think about this Lefane trip, it was completely unnecessary from the standpoint of go mode items. Now, shards, that's a whole other question, right? Says when I looked at Maple's screen, it looked like there was 8 missing, 10 missing, something like that. That is enough to be concerned.
The speed of menuing makes it hard to see clearly, but that was yeah, just about a line's thickness, or 1 layer.
Yeah, Hate the 13th calling out the level 8 heal 3. Still worth buying, but also very painful to see.
And Maple making the jaunt down to the Onrad continent.
Makes sense. There's a go mode item here, effectively, because of the quest chain that's left. And this is where the shards are. And I don't mind this play either, of going directly into sea as your start of the events here, because if you know that you have too many opens left to actually get what you need,
checking the hint giver for no other reason to do it, not necessarily thinking.
You know, because you can get non-incentivized items into your notifications there, I don't mind it.
Fair enough. We still know that ribbon is locked in Marsh. I doubt anyone will ever go get it, but hey, it's known to be there. Now, does Maple go Kraken side first? Yeah, Fiend side first in this case, because we know Kraken's not there. In fact, we know it's Tia.
Well, we here in the broadcast booth know that,
Yes.
but Maple has only seen Lich.
Which tells Maple that Tia is not where Tia should be, so hey, it's a 1 in 3 chance.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, I don't like any of the leftover fiends. But I completely understand and support the Kraken side play in the thought that Sharknado floor or those 2 chests could provide the shards needed.
Very true.
There's one.
Yeah, the shard density of C, even going Kraken side first, is reasonably good enough to make up for the shard deficit.
Now,
and it looks like Kumo actually might be on shard go mode. I only got a flash, but I thought I saw every single orb or shard lit.
That could be. Kumo was up 2 shards from taking out the carry at carry.
That's either 1 shard away or full go mode, it seemed. I'm having trouble making clarity, unfortunately. Herbie B most definitely still plenty of shards to go. As we have a Tia in C for Maple.
We're going damage strats. And again, these fiends are thick. This could be an up to 1800 hit point Tia 1.
That was a relatively thin Tia, but then again, the overall damage output of that katana-wielding thief that had temper on it definitely got huge chunks out of that, along with the casting that was there.
So that is the 4 shards coming out of the water orb as well. As a reminder for folks that aren't familiar, the earth and fire orbs give 2 shards each. The water and air orbs give 4.
Regardless of which fiend is there as well, so that kill on Lich in the sky was worth those 4 shards, as Kumo in Lefane picks up the Oxyale. Meanwhile, Heavy Metal finally making their way to Ordeals to get the key, as Herbie is looting the Sky Spider and about to get the incentive item out of Sky, find that very nice sword. That's in there, I get it.
I have to assume that Herbie B has already picked up the incentive item here.
Yeah, there'd be no reason not to go from here. And Heavy Metal is through onto the incentive items floor as Kumo is out of the Fane with the magic purchased and the item gained.
So Herbie B looked to have 9 shards to go. There's the TNT for Maple.
It's such a troll. Oh, they're Vorpal +2.
Rip. Unused Vorpal.
Yeah, free pro ring, not unusable, and 1 shard. It looks like Maple is 1 shard away. If that 1 box is a shard, there it is. That is go mode out of the ice cave dive.
Yep, and I don't remember if Maple saw the herb to loot hint, but you know that that's what it is.
Indeed, it is a straight linear path of progression at this point. Following that, the only real question is, does Maple feel that they have the life or the levels and life to survive that dive?
That is the big question. Topher's a scary place. That's all I can say to that.
Meanwhile, Herbie B going onto the floor, or the Bridge of Destiny, Kumo into Waterfall to get the TNT and the shards there. And Heavy Metal Mage out of Ordeals going to get the key unlocked floater. There is the herb from the TNT turn in.
As foretold.
Yeah, I mean, he finally got the TNT so he can get back to work, so he handed it over his stash in payment. And Maple, with that turn into the Prime Minister, gets the unlock, gets the loot from the Woken Prince, and gets into go mode. Quick check of the equipment from Maple.
Heavy Metal Mage, meanwhile, getting that floater from the Canary locked, and Kumo is in Waterfall about to also get the TNT. Herbie B about to take on the Lich at Tia spot, which, good entertainment, but also will put Herbie B at 2 shards short of go.
As Maple, our first runner on stream, hitting Topher at 55-25 or thereabouts. And Metal Mage on the reverse towards Crescent and then down to the desert to get that floater and airship in the air.
So one of my concerns on Maple's side is that Maple, I don't think, checked those hairpins in Volcano to get the ruse stick.
No, they did not. All they have is that Invis Axe, which is definitely useful because it's Invis or Invis 2. I didn't see that. Either way, it's still 1 stack of evasion compared to the ruse sticks 2. So
yeah, it's
less effective.
Invis 2. It's Invis 2, which has its downsides as well because you're hitting the whole party with it, so it's super slow. But at the same time, you're also getting evade on the whole party.
There is also another advantage with the Invis stick, 1 or 2. You can have that on a different party member, so you can utilize that turn that otherwise would have been used by the ruse stack giver to themselves to buff with like a Saber Gauntlet or just Saber the spell itself.
That's true.
Distribution of the load on the party members.
There is the loot for Kumo.
As Maple makes it onto the first fiend floor of Earth. Now, how tanky and how deadly will these fiends be? Because Maple did not check the bats. We do not know. Or have any
So
reasonable idea.
Kumo also not checking the bats. And what I'll say to that is I think a lot of runners in the community have taken to the idea that the bats are sort of a poor use of time. And I understand the rationale. Like, you're going to have to deal with it no matter what it is. And so they just, lean on the idea that checking the bats is time surrendered. We see Kumo having just a little bit of issue early on in this Topher.
Yeah. Maple doing a quick change, swapping out the Dragon Sword for the Rune Sword going to that fight, knowing that the Rune Sword does have a buff against magic casters such as Lich, so trading off the overall damage for the advanced value. Probably going to keep that on until getting through to Kraken, I believe.
Makes sense to me.
Obviously, the Dragon Sword against a Dragon Queen, bit more value. As we get Carry 2 fight, Carry punching, Holy coming out, getting the swings out, not bothering with buffs, just going to go fight, getting a nuke cast out. That is a thin carry. That was only like 800 hit points.
700's the floor.
Maple making reasonably quick work of this as Kumo, our second runner, into the Earth floor. Getting a pretty good run, only getting one encounter so far on this sea floor for Maple. It is the Seafood Party Pack, which is annoying, but that ninja getting that runaway. Speaking of another encounter, there's another Seafood Party Pack, and the ninja making another run again.
The agility giving the first strikes, always clutch.
Maple getting some heal up, not chuffing the party at all, going swing, going fast, going temper. Swing fast, nuke, and holy. Getting the fast out after the swing, unfortunately. The nuke comes out 131 and Viz stick instead of holy, so that's evasion stacks, which did help, I'd hope. 63 damage, not a whole lot considering what we know Kraken 2 can do. Getting a fast out on the knight this time, so it'd be swing fast, holy this time instead of the invis stick, and 881 damage off 7 hits. That is incredible output for a single buff and fast off that katana. Another hit, 700 or 513 damage on 7 hits. That is a dead Kraken. Didn't actually get much done. I only saw 2 hits for maybe a few hundred hit points on that thief.
So 1620 is the maximum HP on that Kraken 2. And I think we saw that amount of damage come out, but we don't necessarily know what the gap was, given that the last hit was 500 some.
Okay, so we're on to Tia. We got a Saber on the Thief. We've got Fast coming out on the Thief from the Knight. We've got Nuke coming out, I believe, and then Invis Stick again. So going for evasions and buffs on that Ninja. Nuke comes out 160. Tia coming out with some Sweeper, doing some chip damage, more or less. Fast coming out on the Thief. Nuke coming out. And more Invis Stick. So invasion, burn, or some radioactive damage, swing from that katana, 10 hits for solid damage, 2 hits for just as solid damage on that knight, swing, nuke, and holy. Gonna get the holy cast out, gonna find ourselves 160 damage, stun coming out for no effect on the knight, swing 307 damage from that katana. This is a absorby, really want those crits out of those swings, 60 damage from that knight with that coral, or with that Sword on the Knight's just not doing that much damage, all things considered. Getting more holy out. Blizzard coming out, that's 100 plus damage on the melee characters. 697 damage though from the katana, getting those crits in, gets the kill on Tia. That is a Maple through the fiends, as Kumo is currently dealing with Kraken 2, only a floor behind.
So that was a lot of time for this Tia 2, which means that Tia 2 has some stuff going on. But at the same time, like, Blizzard and a couple spells not taking out any members of the refights, that's really big. Sticking the knight up front is a good choice here. Just
And moving the ribbon onto the ninja as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is Maple going to switch it up or keep... I believe it already has the katana on the ninja, so not going to need to move the Excal off, but... Fast stick out on the ninja, go and get Temper, going to get Saber Bonk, or Saber Cast, and yep, more Invis. So it's going to be all the buffs onto that ninja in that third slot, plus the evasion stacks.
Now we still have to hope that we don't see a big damage nuke come out. That would be somewhat heartbreaking.
Very true. Getting a fast out on the knight, gonna go ahead and temper up the ninja again, gonna saber the ninja, gonna go ahead and get more invis, gonna try and get all the buff. That is a fast on that or on that chaos. That is very scary. Hopefully those invis stacks will help, or it just focuses on casting either way. That's the second saber, that's more temper. Is Maple gonna go switch to swings? Looks like Holy Cast out of the knight, using that magic instead of that minimal swing capability. Switching to Holy from the White Mage, done with that Invis stacks, really wants to get the damage. Actually, no, swing instead of Holy. Thunder 3 coming out, not using nukes, whether they have charges of it or not. Another Holy coming out of the White Mage, to swing 370, not that much damage out of this. Could take more buffs, or if they had a lock to use, see if they could try and trim down the evasiveness of this chaos. Ice 2 coming out, so far some low-level chip damage compared to what could be cast here. Holy coming out 140, Thunder for 30 something. It looked like I can catch that for sure. 407 from that katana swing, still not that much. Gonna chip down. All things considered, more Thunder 3, more Holy, more swing. Quad X comes out, gets the Black Mage down before the Thunder can cast. 370 from the Ninja, 94 from a Holy on the Knight, and 89 on the Holy from the White Mage. This Holy Magic not doing that great. More swings of the katana, 673. That is actually a GG, a kill on chaos for Maple, our first racer to win on stream with the race time GG time of 1 hour, 3 minutes, 57 seconds. First overall. Off stream, we have a second place winner with Ravioli, 1 hour, 4 minutes, 25 seconds. GG to Ravioli as well.
Hey, spoilers. That's like 5 seconds from now. Also, Kumo, deep into this chaos fight as well, was on chaos the same time as Maple, just a little bit later on the start. So Kumo charged through that entire Topher and has made up ground significantly just on the back of this smaller party having more action economy. And GG to Kumo. Third place, official racetime.gg time, 1 hour, 4 minutes, 42 seconds. Let's see if we can get these folks in for an interview. I see Kumo in the waiting room, and Maple as well. So GG's to both Maple and Kumo.
I had a feeling some Maple and we're close.
So, man, I was Maple. I was worried about your levels, and you proved me wrong. So GG on that front. Let's quick talk through the party selection and the thought process, because Herbie B, Heavy Metal Mage, took the same party as Maple. Fighter, Thief, White, Black. Kumo, you dropped the Fighter. I'm going to guess that was on the Thief Swords, right?
I didn't have a Fighter. I had none.
Yeah, so in terms of party selection, that was that because of the Thief Swords? Was it a desire to just do 3-man? Like, what drove that decision?
Because with this flag set, I found it quicker to funnel XP on 3 party members rather than 4 party members at the very beginning to start getting levels. So when you start getting that 8th shard, you start getting more XP. So it was a reason of I ran so many practice seeds, and I realized that I'm very, very slow at leveling. So it seems slow anyway.
I got you. I understood all possible angles on party selection here, and then I think I don't know what the off-stream folks did, but there was probably a lot of Thief Fighter White Black as well. So Maple, thoughts on that party selection here?
So something that I had kind of forgotten was how severe the thief sword penalty is, or rather the malice is. And with that in mind, I think I got lucky in that the fighter just ended up being really tanky. And the dragon sword rolling high was like helpful as well. But I probably would have either gone. I still probably would have gone 4 people, but I might have gone thief rainbow or maybe even like thief black white. So I kind of lucked out with that. But I really like having the 4th party member just because sometimes you get like a fast stick or like a temper stick, and so it's just useful to have that 4th party member just to like throw around buffing spells.
Herbie B on Kraken 2 just lost the White Wizard. Oof. Big melees.
Question for you, Maple. What incentivized you to back out of Volcano? Were you just lacking the want to risk the fiend fight, or just not stack or having enough spell casts or pots?
At the time, well, so in my practice for this, basically, if I don't feel confident that I can take Tia straight up, then I don't take the fight. If I don't like absolutely have to, like I'll take it if I feel confident and don't have exit. Otherwise, I will just skip it. It's only 2 orbs. Like it doesn't matter who it rolls. It's only 2 orbs or only 2 shards. So that's not worth the risk of losing a volcano.
Fair play,
It was
especially with the
carry, by the
experience gained.
It was
it was carry?
by the way. Yep.
Yeah. Even carry like at like without like a decent party there, it's kind of like so.
See, I went to Ordeals first before I went to Volcano and got my floater. So I was above 20 when I.
Yeah. If you go to Volcano and you're already 20, it makes way more sense to kind of take that fight.
What did you think of the spike tiles, especially the Gershark Pinata party?
Oh, that was amazing. Though it was kind of annoying with their heal 3s.
Oh yeah, I saw that heal 3 and I was like, ooh. So.
I think I downed the black mage and I gained a few more levels on my white mage and thief.
We definitely noticed that doing the 2-man to get those levels on the important parties, because the possibility of having a tanky-ish white mage with enough casts of survival spells to keep your 1 melee caster up, or melee swinger up.
Sword mage.
And that life too, it didn't. It was there if I needed it.
Yeah, it was
Herbie
good to have.
wiped out.
Ooh.
Yeah, I got to Tia 2 and Tia 2 did Tia 2 things. Maple, you were about to say something.
Oh, let's see. As far as the spike tiles are concerned, I haven't really found that I've wanted to necessarily grind out more levels, at least with a 4-person party. As long as I'm like 21, 22. What I usually find that I end up wanting is like a party that is relatively like tough and can kind of grind out a Topher. Just like kind of through like a slow kind of like plotting offense rather than kind of like a glass cannon type strategy. And so I haven't really essentially practiced like finding a good grind and kind of going for it a bit. I usually just try and do a walking grind for this flag set.
Heavy Metal Mage has the shards, but I don't see a loot.
No, I do not think they went and got the turn-ins. This could be a bonk off the loot plate.
It looks likely, which is unfortunate, but every runner does it once, at least once.
I let the loot run till the very end.
It basically just routed out that way for just about everyone.
Yeah, I definitely have bonked like twice while practicing this flag set, like without loot. So I was like, I'll make sure to kind of check for it before I even go there this time.
Luffy always tells me that I need to put free loot in more flag sets, and I can't do it.
It's honestly funny when it happens, usually, unless it's like happening to someone else, in which case it's like,
The day that I turn free loot on is probably also the day that I turn off auto sort for everybody.
That would just be a troll. I'm just too used to that now, having the tents or cabins right where they need to be for fast saving.
And the heal potions in slot 1, so you can just mash. Like, that used to be a skill that people had to develop, was how to menu to the heal potions, and how to control the inventory to put them in a good spot. I came in after those days, and I appreciate that the skill had to be nurtured. You had to do the thing.
And Heavy Metal Mage bonking on it, backing out, going to back to on-rack to get the TNT from the robot. As Herbie B has made it back down to the sea floor in Topher. Finding that Seafood Party Pack 2-pack again, and the Gershark eye tile. Encounter, I should say.
Well, Heavy Metal Mage is on the chase here for that quest chain. There was a call out while the chaos fights were going on that the Lefanish hint giver was snitching on the Lefanish the Lefanish incentive item giver, as we found out that indeed the man across town has your Oxy Ale for you.
Oh geez, Kraken choosing not to go for the White Caster, going straight for the Ninja. Thankfully the White Caster stays up because the Black Caster's next target. Life 2 comes out and brings the Ninja back up. Get a swing out from Herbie B's fighter, hitting nothing. White Mage going for out of life cast, down to 3 life 2 casts. Gonna use a life 2 cast to try and bring that Black Mage up. The Ninja surviving the second hit from this Kraken 2. Kraken 2 is swingy, 5 hits, 255. Wow, 4 hits for 448. That Knight, when it gets the hit, can do some pretty solid damage using that sword. Another swing, 96 damage this time. Herm 3 coming out of the White Mage, not having those fades because those fades stacked with the life. 326 out. There goes the White Mage. 10 hits, 900 plus damage. Nuke coming out of the Black Mage, 394. And that is Herbie B through Kraken 2 again. This time sans White Mage.
Again, sans White Mage. And, it's one of those things where it's like, at what cost did we finish this fight? Well, the cost was the Black Mage went one turn after Kraken deleted the White Mage.
And this is a straight dive onto Tia. No party shuffling, going fade instead of swing, and lit 2, doing some solid damage. Fast coming out onto the Ninja. Ninja swinging again, 310 off 7 hits. Stun coming out, getting the Ninja knocked offline. Temper comes out for no effect as the Ninja is down. Swing coming out from the Knight. Switching over to Nuke cast. Oh, that is a nuke from Tia 2, and that is all but the Knight up. This is a pretty rough encounter for Herbie B, unfortunately, as Heavy Metal Mage getting that change done, diving into Topher, and Herbie B backing out.
Burn an encounter and right back in, because this Topher. So, I will say to both of our finishers, it seemed like you guys had a combination of luck in terms of things not just going poorly, but also like the right prep. And so I think that's something that showed in your finish here.
At the very beginning, when I first stepped foot into Topher, I got cracked out. Two of my people got cracked out. I was like, nope. I reset out that and was like, hope this is not the luck we're gonna get. And fortunate it wasn't. But I knew where a second ribbon was if I needed it.
That
Yeah, I
early
think-
hint about the ribbon in Marsh.
Yelp. It locked. It was in the locked place, one of the locked rooms.
Yeah, I was really hoping it wasn't going to end up in locked, but it turned out it did. I definitely feel like I got lucky in terms of avoiding any really harsh spells or abilities. And I also kind of lucked out with how Chaos rolled because I forgot to switch over to the Katana, and thankfully didn't get seriously punished for it.
Oh, I thought that you had been running the Katana for most of the seed. I think everybody else had just swapped as a reflex off the X-Cal to the Katana.
Yeah, it probably would have been smart for me to do so, and I had swapped it at some point, but I think I swapped back to X-Cal. And that's probably just poor decision making on my part, and it just kind of happened to work out. But
The S-Cal for the crit capability, or lack of crit capabilities, does give you more per hit damage thanks to the elemental blursing, or benefits. It may have just been the better move to have the X-Cal and then only use the Katana where crit was purely necessary. But you had just two really good options all the same.
yeah,
And a sad, sad night.
man.
Herbie B yet again moving on to the fire floor, having dealt with Speed Bump Mark II. Meanwhile, Heavy Metal Mage is taking some zombie Ds, getting some experience.
Yeah, my first grind was on the sandworms.
That was a good grind for you.
Yes, it was.
I definitely appreciated the choices there.
Well, at that time, the bowls at the very beginning knocked down my black mage. I was like, okay, we're gonna do this. So I was like, we'll 2-man it, and I got the sandworms at the end. So I'm like, I'll just use up all my spell charges, and then I found out that I can almost one shot them with Thief. So I was like, we'll gain a few levels off that.
Herbie B through carry 2 nearly lost the white mage again, down to 48 health, bringing it back up after getting through. Meanwhile, Heavy Metal Mage about to take on the Speed Bump Mark II for the first time.
The Speed Bump Mark II opens with Cure 4, which is kind of funny. Like, you thought you were doing something useful, but unfortunately...
Heavy
it
Metal
never
Mage
acts.
gets order of operations to get the fast out first, gets the swings, and gets the kill. You could face an enemy who has a gun trained at your head, but if you take the gun or the head of the enemy before it pulls the trigger to you, you're good. Meanwhile, Black Mage down. White Mage gets the wall cast on itself against Kraken 2 yet again from Herbie B. Does not want that White Mage to fall down. Getting the Life 2 coming out on the Black Mage. Fade coming out from the Knight, trying to get those caster damage instead of using swings. And that is a ninja down. Gonna go with Nuke, gonna go with Swing, gonna go with Life 2 again, trying to keep the party members cycled up. As Swirl comes out against Heavy Metal Mage, that's pretty good damage coming out of Carry 2. Nuke goes out, 250 damage, and there goes the White Mage again for Herbie B. 700 plus damage and 10 hits. This Kraken is doing Kraken 2 things, and it takes down the Ninja. That's just painful.
This is the third time that Kraken 2 has done this to Herbie B.
Yep,
I would already be resetting. Like, I'm not taking Tia 2 with this party.
Probably go back and pick up any necessary equipment if it doesn't have enough gold bracelets or whatnot. And that is Herbie B going for the Masa chest? Or is the Masa chest on fire floor?
Masa Chest is on Sky floor. So
Okay,
it's
that's where Herbie B seems to be going.
yeah, the WizVamp Vamp Pack has thoughts and feelings about that matter, and I don't know if Herbie picked up the exit spell on the night. Was learnable.
This could be the most crazy YOLO play, and I don't blame. Meanwhile, Kumo getting healed up after dealing with Carry 2 going to face Kraken. And that is a Vanilla Masa, a definite upgrade. First really solid weapon that knight could swing, but that's a level 27 knight with a Masa neutral trying to man mode against Chaos.
I
Invis and fast equipment on there.
I would be exiting with the sword and trying again. Like,
I would agree. I personally did more or less that same thing, minus the Masa in hand the other night. Meanwhile, off stream, we did have another finisher, or fourth place finisher overall, Infinite Tape with a racetime.gg time of 1 hour 20 minutes 47 seconds. GG to Infinite Tape. Let's see how Kraken 2 deals with Heavy Metal or vice versa. That is a Black Mage down. That's fast coming off the White Mage. Swing from the Knight. Swing, wait. Just going straight up damage and nothing else mode. Not bothering to try and use the life spell in battle. Nearly gets the kill. That is 135 life left. And Heal Pot strats coming out to try and keep that ninja up. Going for Heal Pots, Cure 2, and Saber, trying to get more power. 630, almost killing the Knight. The tanky is all tanky Knight, 122 health. Going ahead and swing again with that extra Saber. 7 damage, 979, not enough as the Knight goes down. Swing weight gets 156, but that is enough. So that is a Carry 2 taking out. As meanwhile, Herbie B going man mode against Tia at 125 health, and that is dead by 126 on that swing. Herbie B has bounced out yet again.
yeah, and prior to engaging that Tia 2, we saw the Knight just get repeatedly attacked by Vampire WizVamp, and was down to 140 health on that Knight. So, like, we're seeing some just genuinely terrible luck coming out here.
Here's an interesting move. Heavy Metal not even bothering to go Tia 2 first, going for the Masa. Really wants that secondary sword swing. I'm gonna be happy with the neutral Masa at least.
Whatever gets you the finish, you know? Like, and neutral Masa is still a very good sword.
It's the best sword that knight could possibly fight with that Thief Blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And Heavy Metal Mage also still running that katana, or the X-Cal, not switching to the katana just yet, really gonna take advantage of those elemental damage blessings. Or benefits.
Also, call out for the heads-up play of warping out from the Masa chest to save all those steps.
Definitely. As we saw the WizVampire packs there, that could be very detrimental to your stock of potions and your spellcast in the least. Fast didn't get out. 4 hits for only 100 damage. 4 hits for 257 on the Knight though from Tia 2. Swing with that Masa, 235. Pretty solid damage without any buffs going. Go for the swing, 140. Lit 2, doing some tickle damage, nothing too nasty. Getting a swing out from the X-Cal 175, not a lot of damage. Swing, wait, just gonna go and focus full effect. 435, stun comes out for no effect. 545, that Knight with that Masa doing a lot of damage. Another swing from the Knight, 7 hits for only a 140, and then as a nuclear, does not take out the Ninja. The Ninja steps back up 61 health, 171 damage, gets the kill, only losing the Black Mage. That is a risk. Heavy Metal Mage actually running, but making it to Chaos's floor. That is a clean run. This will be Heavy Metal Mage pulling up on Chaos as Herbie B back in Topher for the 4th time, going on to Lich 2. This has been an intense seed so far, and it is no less intense for her Heavy Metal Mage, who's only on the first dive in. Using pots to get the heal up, only having 5 left, gonna have to balance out what character gets them and whether or not to use some healing or some spell casts before going into combat. Doing some party jiggling, getting that fighter down into fighter 3rd, ninja 4th. Did not check if they swapped the katana on instead of the X-Cal. Fast comes out of the white mage. Fast cast comes out of the black mage. Looks like the fighter's just going to swing a saber coming out of the ninja on itself. The black mage gets that fast cast off. Lit 2 comes out, tickles the party. Fast comes out. That is both melee characters fast up with the fast on that knight at 141 for 9 hits for 141. Choosing what to use on that white mage, just going with the weight and looks like trying to stack fast. That does not work. Nope, gets temper out. My mistake. Fast coming on chaos. That is pretty scary. As saber comes out, that ninja is going to be buffed to the moon or try to. Weight on the white mage. Temper, gonna spread the love around, going on that knight, and swing from the katana. Or was that the moss? I can't remember. 10 hits from the knight, not so many hits from the ninja, still solid damage. That is 5 hits for 900 damage. That chaos is not messing around. 10 hits, 900 plus damage, and lit 2, that's a tickle play. Swing from the knight, 347. That is a kill on chaos, our 3rd racer to finish on stream with a race time.dz time of 1 hour, 28 minutes, 28 seconds. GG to Heavy Metal.
Checking to see if Heavy Metal Mage wants to jump in here. And we are joined in the booth by Heavy Metal Mage. GG.
Hey, thanks, Saracen. Boy, that was a roller coaster all the way through.
So let's talk about that loot. How we feel about bonking off the loot plate today.
Yeah, sometimes if you see the hint, you know where the loot is, you just file that away, and you'll get that later, and that's exactly what happened.
Everybody does it at least once.
Yeah, the fun one from start to finish, though. Really, really, really good one.
I'm glad to see you went through and got the Masa. That was good equipment.
I was reading the flags earlier today, and I had to actually look at the Topher map to remember exactly how to get to that chest. So I was prepared in case I needed it, and came in handy, I think, against Chaos.
Yeah, the Thief Sword Malice is sometimes underappreciated for how terrible it can be. And I was surprised that we had... So, Kumo did not take a fighter, took a nun instead, but the other 3 runners on the restream all had fighters. I didn't check Infinite Tape or Ravioli, but I know that Rax also had a fighter. So, everybody was focused in on that, and I'm like, alright, it makes sense because the fighter is just a brick wall, right? You could have maxed out hit points at, level 32. And that's really appealing. But what does he swing? And so, the guaranteed endgame Masa flag is entertaining. In that, it puts the sword back where it came from. Dum, 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 dum. However, who walks there? It turns out not many people, and this was an excellent seed to showcase that flag as a, guaranteed item.
Worked out really well with that Malice. It just went hand in hand, and honestly, that Dragon Sword +4 was pretty nice. It was doing some good damage up until the end.
Can't say didn't get good equipment for that Thief Sword plursing, but it did feel bad seeing the X-Cal roll up and the sword have to be handed to the ninja instead.
I
As
mean,
soon as I got, go ahead.
I was advocating for White Mage doing White Samurai strats at the end, but nobody took me up on that, so...
Never saw the Thor hammer, sadly.
We knew where the Masa was. So,
This is
Kumo,
true,
you had
and
a thought here?
Kumo's sword was,
Right.
or Kumo's white mage was leveled up, pardon me.
What's that?
I think you were starting it on something.
Oh, I was just when I saw the X-Cal, I was like, yes, an in-game weapon. And then I saw the katana roll up +4. I was like, well, so much for the X-Cal.
I mean, the X-Cal is generally just a stronger sword until Chaos, because Chaos is the only thing where it's not going to get the +30 damage that the flags offer.
So, 4th or 5th time through, Herbie B feats Kraken 2 only down the Black Mage. That is a full 4-man party going to Tia 2 for the first time for Herbie B.
This Topher
Let's
has
go,
been
Herbie.
so brutal for Herbie.
I know the pain.
Been there,
And
done
no
that.
more black.
Is Herbie B going to bother trying to bring back that Black Mage, or is it just a blade of meat shield that stays down? Chooses to invis to the party, gets Fade out, goes for swing with the ninja, Lit 2 coming out doing some tickle damage, swing, and Fade going full on damage. 219 gets the Fade out for 275, good damage, and the katana deals 90 damage. Oof. Swing, Fade again.
Some days the katana just doesn't perform, and it's always sad, but you just have to accept that that's the way it is.
Yeah, well, 129 off 5 hits that time was enough for the kill. That is, again, the Black Mage down on the floor. Gonna go ahead and get the res up on it before running. By the way, Heavy Metal Mage running after being so well beaten to Chaos's floor felt like a very daring move.
Yeah, I think I was in a little bit of a panic in that moment and was just hoping for the best.
Well, just like you, Herbie B makes it in. One encounter didn't get any damage dealt to him. Having full heal pots, also not unlike you having to balance who got the heals. That felt a little weird. But party members set up. We've got the gear being shuffled around, moving that ribbon onto... I believe that is the ninja, or is that the knight down there? That is the ninja in slot 3.
I'm
So-
surprised the knight isn't hanging out in slot 1 and the black mage in slot 2. Like, that knight is just a wall of hit points.
Was that 5 hits for 5 damage pre-buffs on that ninja? That just felt bad.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Well, we got Temper out from the Black Mage. We've got Fast Sword used by the Knight on the Ninja. Going Fast Sword on the Knight this time. Going Swing, not bothering to boost anymore. Getting fast on Chaos. We know Chaos can hit people and hits very hard. Temper gets out. That's a fast Temper. 395 out. Another Invis 2 stack coming up on the party. Where do we go from here? More Temper onto the Ninja. Swing, and Invis stack yet again. Invis stick comes out. Very good to see that sooner because Chaos is ready to punch someone. Swings 7 hits, 153. More Temper comes out on the Ninja. Gets the swings out. That's 1,195 damage. That is some serious damage and a tickle from, or some static electricity out of Chaos. Going heal 2 instead of Invis on that White Mage, but 507 damage is enough. That is a GG finally for Herbie B with a racetime.gg time of 1 hour, 35 minutes, 57 seconds. With our last racer on stream finished, our final racer in the race is Rex with a finishing time 7th overall of 1 hour 38:16.
So, Herbie, welcome to the booth. GG. I am impressed at the continued endeavor on that. Because, wow, that Kraken 2 had it out for you. Every single dive. How you feeling?
I just told myself I did not want to give up. I just needed to continue. I do think I changed up my strategy. It just, unfortunately, until the 4th and 5th dive is when I really started doing the invis and fast strats that I was... I knew I had to do something different to get past Kraken, because he just kept hitting everybody.
Yeah, that Kraken was a slight bit uprolled, but doing Kraken things. So many Kraken things. I think you got all of the bad Kraken luck this seed. But yeah, I have to commend you on sticking it through to the finish.
I don't know how many more dives I had in me, but I kept telling myself that, you know, I felt like I was just a move away all the time.
Your tenacity is admirable.
And I mean, especially when you have the dive where the black mage gets the nuke out and it takes out Kraken just one turn after the white mage is smashed into the fine paste. Like, if the white mage lives, you can continue the dive, right? But nothing seemed to line up for you at that point. You did go for the Masa box at one point with just the solo knight. I was hoping you had exit and you were going to keep the Masa and come back another day. Did you think about that? Was that an option?
I didn't think about it. My hope was to just, you know, have the do invis and fast and just try to get very, you know, I don't know, dodgy and try to see if I could do that. If the Masa, especially, I didn't know if it might roll up, especially, right? Then that would have been something. You know, the fighter didn't really have much to do, right, outside of, well, he certainly wasn't swinging well until the very end.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, the Invis 2 axe just, it feels bad to try to get evasion stacks off of that for a night. But, you know, again, I think everything prior to Topher was lined up just right for you. You were doing, you know, great work and keeping up on all fronts there. Just Topher had it out for you today.
Yeah, I felt like I was kind of putting together pretty good, right? I think kind of going to ordeals when I did, right? Kind of, you know, it kind of got that chain going, right? As opposed to going kind of ice or volcano first. Yeah, so I did feel pretty good about it all up until Topher.
So were there any deviations on stream? Because I know I went to ordeals first before the volcano.
Maple definitely went volcano before ordeals.
Yeah, volcano ice for Maple. I want to say Heavy Metal Mage went Earth early on, which
Ooh.
there
Yes.
was
Yeah.
a Kraken and some other things. But you brackened that Kraken.
Yes, I did. Not until after wiping to the Whizvamp grind that I was trying to get going. So I went back in with that orb at the end in my sights.
Yeah, and discovering Kraken at the end of Earth is an experience.
I stayed completely away from Earth.
Yeah, same here. I saw the crown turn in was the rod, and I was like, nope, don't need the rod. Not gonna touch Earth.
Especially not incentivized. Earth in a shard hunt is just, there's nothing that feels great about it unless you're able to get some distinct advantage out of looting it out. Though as I recall, we did see a Gurmadusa grind in the Hall of Giants. That was nice to see.
Been nice.
That was nice.
To
I
try
felt
and
like
check
that was pretty good with Fire 3.
The only thing I remember coming out of Earth that was decent was the Dragon Armor +1. And that was something I picked back up my second time through. But yeah, otherwise, big regrets on Earth.
Yeah, it's a dungeon that it likes to play tricks sometimes. If you've ever watched Caleb feel like he's gonna big brain that, and then like he pulls something out of first floor chests, like that's the only time where it feels like it's a good dungeon. Or if you have something incredible in the Hall of Giants, like Gerbaduses are good, but they're not like incredible. But sometimes you get like your iron gold tile in there on the B sides, and you're like, yes. But yeah, this seed, I think it seemed straightforward right up until the Topher interjected for some of our runners. That's about it for me. Fabian, you got anything else you wanted to ask about?
Honestly, haven't watched it all. Our racers just proved dang tenacious, and I applaud them.
All right. Well, with that, let's go ahead and get our final thoughts from our runners here. So first on stream, Maple, final thoughts.
I kind of like Shard Hunt. It satisfies my inner Blue Goblin. So it's when you like a flag set, it's easy to get your reps in terms of practice. So I was able to practice that one a fair bit, and I feel like it kind of paid off in terms of the seed did feel kind of linear in terms of items, but it's knowing kind of like when to take what. Generally speaking, I feel like it really helped out. So yeah, GG's everyone.
Kumo, second place on stream, third overall. Final thoughts.
This seed got me tilted practicing it. I think all the practices I did get me prepared for the seed today, but I was on the verge of just saying I'm done because the things were making me mad. And I couldn't finish, or I couldn't beat the certain time I wanted to get. So persistence. It felt actually good to finish within just less than a minute between Ravioli and Maple.
Yeah, you did extremely well with the 3-man party, and I'm glad to hear that you were able to move past the tilt that your practice seeds gave you. All right, Heavy Metal Mage, third on stream, fifth overall. Final thoughts.
Yeah, well, GG's everyone. Yeah, and thanks to the race crew also for commentating, tracking, and restreaming. Yeah, I mean, it was a rough start for me from the get-go. I kind of bounced off of Garland and wiped an Earth, and I'm glad I stuck with it. And the longer we play, the more we get to all watch and talk about it. So yeah, GG's all.
All right, and Herbie B, fourth on stream, sixth overall. Final thoughts.
Well, definitely GG's everybody, and appreciate the crew both on comms and behind the scenes, right, making this all happen, and for the tournament, just in general. I think you try to look at each seed and try to say even rough spots in a seed is a good learning experience. So I'm really excited to for next week and try to finish strong. So it's been a really fun tournament so far.
I'm certainly glad that you're taking the positive outlook out of this that you can, because this is it is sometimes hard to see the silver lining to a 5-dive Topher. Fabian Hawk, my co-comms today. Final thoughts?
I'm glad this flag set is done. We've seen both groups not have happy times, but very much looking forward to next week with our with changing Shard Hunt out for a shuffle of entrances and floors. So much more to my personal liking. I hope our racers on stream today are also looking forward to that.
Wait, do we have floors in that shuffle? I thought it was just
No,
entrance
it's not.
in town.
Sorry, it's just entrance to town. It's not floor shuffle. I would love floor shuffle. That's just even funner.
There was a minor heart attack there. All right. Well, I do want to say thank you to all of our runners, of course, putting on a great show here today. It was. I hope that the shard hunt, while it was not necessarily an easy flag set to prepare for, was a good learning experience nonetheless. I think you put on a great show overall today. I want to say thank you to Lord Fizzlebeef for Restream, Classic Gamer, and Hate the 13th for handling our tracking, keeping us honest here. Davey and Hawk, my co-coms, all y'all in chat for